Hello, and welcome to Shane's Microscope. I'm Shane, and this is my microscope. Let's take a peek. Today's sample comes from bird bath A again. I wanted to have a look at how it evolved as the temperature warmed up, and since it was frozen solid yesterday, I figured this would be a fantastic starting point. So I put a little water and sediment on the slide, since the microbes like to hang around the sediments. Dropped on a cover slip, just the perfect amount of water on there. Let's check it out. Under the microscope now, we can see we've got some little specks moving around. I noticed some movement up here that I decided to investigate first. Bringing that into focus, it's a kind of lozenge-shaped cell. And now under high magnification, we can see that it's of the phylum Chlorophyta. That's from the Greek chloros for green and phyton for plant. And I believe this is specifically of the genus Chlamydomonas. That comes from the Greek chlamus for cloak and monas for solitary. I see where the solitary comes from, but I'm not quite sure what part of that has to do with cloaks. And while I was watching this green algae, I caught a glimpse of one of those small dubers that was corkscrewing around, and it's really hard to focus on because it's really corkscrewing in and out, but I'm fairly confident saying that it's some sort of flagellate. That comes from the Latin for whip. Going back to that sediment, we can see we've got some non-moving green algae that's taken up residence here. They are scattered about all over this thing, singly and in small groups. Oh, there's another one of those little flagellates swimming past. I'm curious if this is the same as those corkscrewing flagellates. It's difficult to see, but you can just barely make out those whip-like flagella that it uses to move around. I bet this might be the same as those corkscrewing flagellates. I thought this piece of stone looked kind of pretty. As you can see, we've got more Chlorophyta green algae around here and some more little flagellates. And look at that interesting pocket. Huh, check that out. Oh, it looks like they're leaving it now. I wonder if they weathered the deep freeze in there. Neat. Well, I'm glad I caught them before they all swum out of there. Here we've got a more dense cluster of green algae. Seems like they weren't particularly stopped by the freezing conditions. And one of those little swimming flagellates again. Investigating another piece of sediment, we can see this one has some more colonies of green algae around it. Seems like there might be a couple of types in here. And over here we have quite the little colony of them. It's difficult for me to tell exactly what species these are, but I'm pretty confident that they're all in phylum Chlorophyta. Looks like we got some more of those flagellates swimming around there too. Some interesting dense clusters in there. I'm wondering if that's a different species from the more loose ones. They are all over this piece of sediment. 'Cause, 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 And checking out this other piece of sediment, we've got a very large colony of them here. We can tell from the focus that this is a three-dimensional structure, since we have a narrow depth of field. Changing the focus really shows us different depths. And it looks like another little group of flagellates in here. Well, it looks like right after a deep freeze, bird bath A is largely composed of a couple types of green algae and some small flagellates. We didn't see any of the larger ciliates in here. Those must be in a more dormant stage, whereas these green algae and tiny flagellates must be hardy enough to come right back after the freeze. I'm glad we had a look at that, and I'll be interested to see how this little ecosystem changes with the weather. Alright, well, I think we'll leave it there for the day. Thanks for having a look with me. Until next time, keep on peeking.